Okay, great. So since I'm a little bit late starting, I'm just going to get started now before more people show up. And today's topic is going to be about why Sabbatical Beauty takes a political stance and actually takes a stance against the current U.S. administration, which, I've been told so many times, this is like worst possible idea, such bad business practice, etc., etc. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like why I made this decision and some of the background behind it, so you guys can get an idea as well. So last year, let's start with this story. So last year, I gave a talk I was invited to give a talk to a group of academics who were, and the title of the talk the subject of the talk was supposed to be about how Sabbatical Beauty came into being, but also how a professor could possibly leave academia to start her own business. And the people who invited me wanted me to kind of inspire. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Hayne. Wanted me to kind of inspire the academics and make them feel like there's a worthwhile life to live outside of academia. And so that's kind of what my topic of the talk was about. So when I was giving the talk, I talked a little bit about how after the 2016 election, after a lot of thinking about it, I decided to make the political views of Sabbatical Beauty very clear. And if you were a Trump supporter, you were free to leave. We have, this is not a space that your views will be welcome in. If you want to stay and learn, that's fine. If you want to stay and insult people, that's not fine. And, when I was giving a talk, I had this very interesting mixed reaction from the audience. I had this white male professor basically say, like, maybe you should really think about taking some MBA classes because you sound like you really don't know anything about business practices, and this is a really bad idea for business to announce that you're kicking out all Trump supporters. So, I'm here. I'm just here today to tell him, and not that he's ever going to listen to it, but I'm just here today to report that actually that's not true, and actually my political stance, I think, has really created the kind of business that I could live with, and also a pretty happy and thriving business for its political stance. So I'm going to talk a little bit to you guys today about why. So I'm sure that you've been reading that about businesses being changing because of millennials and their tastes in what kinds of businesses they want to support. Like big businesses, like malls are dying, like Hooters is dying, and these like big chain restaurants like Applebee's and everything, they're dying because of millennials who are not supporting them. And I'm actually only on the tail end of a millennial. I'm like a really, really old millennial, so I hardly count. But I fully understand why millennials want to support businesses which are not just trying to feed them generic corporate BS, but the businesses that actually stand for something. I think that the common wisdom that business has no place in politics doesn't really ring true to a lot of millennials and to a lot of people, really, because we all know that businesses exist in a political space. Like, businesses are supported by decisions that politicians make, and politicians support businesses as well, as indicated, for example, by all these people who are funded by gun manufacturers and the NRA and who are refusing to make legislation anti-gun legislation because they take money from gun manufacturers. So to pretend that business has nothing to do with politics is disingenuous. And I think that's something that millennials have been very, very clear about pointing out. And I think this also contributes to why, for those of you who are in Sabbatical Beauty and who love what Sabbatical Beauty stands for, this contributes to why you feel so strongly about its stance as well. Another reason why I decided to own Sabbatical Beauty's political stance is because when I I left academia because I could not do what I wanted in academia. Like, I went into academia and into becoming a professor because I really, really cared about politics, about ethics. I really cared about trying to make the world a better place. And I thought that through learning about inequality, through learning how to teach people about inequality, things would get better, and I would do something positive for the world. And ironically enough, I didn't want to go into business. Ironically enough, my parents wanted me to go into business because I thought I couldn't do that in the corporate world. And when I actually became an academic and got my job and was teaching and everything, I realized how actually I couldn't really do very much. I could teach a few students here and there. I couldn't really change anything because professors don't really earn anything. Professors don't really do anything that changes policy, especially in the field that I was in. So I realized that I really was very, very, I had no power. I was very impotent. And I was impotent. I was working for very little. Professors don't get paid a lot. Humanities academic professors don't get paid a lot. And I wasn't really contributing to anything that I really cared about. So when I started my own business, this is why Sabbatical Beauty really has this foundational philosophy about, like, this is supposed to be a business not about making women feel bad about themselves, not about making women feel that, they need to have better skin, they need to have X, Y, and Z. It's about business that uses skincare to celebrate one another. Like, you use your products, yes, because you want your skin to improve, but also because you want to take care of yourself. You want to feel comforted through taking care of yourself, because the ritual of taking care of yourself, putting things on your skin, talking to friends about what you're doing, has a very soothing effect to the rest of your life. I wanted to create a business that's not going to make women feel bad about themselves, but make women feel supported, and supported by one another. And that's so rare because, as you guys well know, in the beauty industry is all about pitting women against one another. Like, who's prettier, and who has more friends, and who do all the men like, and I really don't care about that. And the fact that I think so many of you have cottoned on to this philosophy and found it so attractive really shows that it was a good business decision. A lot of people would say, like Black Panther, look at the success of Black Panther. And why wasn't Black Panther released 10 years ago? It wasn't because people were like, nobody has any interest in seeing black leads. Just like nobody has any interest in a beauty company that doesn't make women feel bad about themselves, that isn't pitting women against one another. Like, I think the political landscape has changed a lot. And because the political landscape has changed a lot and people are supporting different things now with the dollars that they have, this has actually created a really different environment for businesses that actually take a political stance and thrive. So part of why Sabbatical Beauty has this, this political stance is because I couldn't do it in academia. And so I wanted to, whatever space I was going to be in the future, I wanted to make that a space that I would ethically be comfortable with being in, and ethically being comfortable with, like, creating and making bigger. That's why we have a political space. I also think that, as the Trump administration has been going on and on and on and not getting it, and somebody not getting impeached yet, I also think that people who oppose the administration, who are part of the resistance, need a space that's safe, that feels safe to them, needs a space where you're not constantly trying to argue with people, to ask them to see their point of view. The resistance needs a space to breathe and support one another. And I don't think that we have a lot of those spaces, especially within a business environment. And so that's kind of why I decided to own Sabbatical Beauty's political stance. And contrary to what that man told me about how, I was making the worst business decision ever, I think once I made the decision to firmly stand by Sabbatical Beauty's political sentiments. I've seen incredible support for it. Like, everybody, I mean, you guys know, you guys get really excited whenever I post something saying when somebody gets upset that we're losing them as customers, and I say, bye, have a good day. And that's really because it's more important to me that we have a space to breathe. We have a space to communicate with one another. We have a space to give love to one another than just like how many people can I cram into buying something from me. And I think, very much like Pansy Spices, the people that stick around, like you guys, are really appreciative of that, because you know that you cannot get this community just about anywhere. And you know that because you can't get this community everywhere, you're not going to be feeling as comfortable. So again, I think this has been a really good business decision, because my goal has always been to create a community of supportive people where people care for one another and support one another. And honestly, if I let people who can be real assholes into that community, the community is not going to stay very nice any longer. People aren't going to find value in the community. And so many people have told me the huge value they find out of Sabbatical Beauty is not just that the products work, but because of the community, where it means more to them than just skincare. It's a big part of their lives. So it's a really good business decision, because if I just want to take money from people, I'm not going to be able to really sustain this community. If I'm not going to be able to sustain this community, Sabbatical Beauty loses a lot of its value. So all of this is really why I decided to own Sabbatical Beauty's political stance. So I wanted to leave a few minutes to ask you guys if you have any questions for me. And I'll try to be patient while you guys think about whether you have questions. So I'm still waiting to see. Aww, Marissa. I'm awesome because you guys are awesome. So Hayne asked, what kind of support have you found with other brands, if any, that also have political stances? The only brand I know that explicitly has an anti-Trump stance and that has got flack for it is Pansy Spices, and they are a lot bigger than Sabbatical Beauty. So I've never really reached out to them to see whether we have any points of political alignment before. All the collaborations I've done with smaller brands, it just hasn't really seemed to be a thing that came up yet. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that would be, I think brands are so scared of owning their political identity, but I mean, if you do, you definitely get a lot of hatred, but you also get a lot of love from it and a lot of loyalty. I mean, this is not the same political environment as it was like during the Obama years. We can't go around and assume that basic things that we used to think were unacceptable, like hate speech, hate crime, and groping women, like we can't go around thinking that this is definitely unacceptable. Everybody's going to be seeing that it's unacceptable. We live in a different era where, the president is on camera talking about grabbing women by their private parts and laughing about it, still getting elected, and then saying after that he didn't actually say that when he's caught on camera saying that. So, yeah, it was a totally different political environment. And because the environment is so different, because the environment is so different, we cannot afford to just pretend that these things don't exist. Marissa says, have you reached out to any women's publications to talk about Sabbatical Beauty? We've reached out to a few, but we haven't really found any contacts that's specifically interested in the political aspect. I mean, we should probably more, but we haven't really done that. And Linda, yeah, I think you're right. Maybe that's something that we could do. We could think about doing in the future. So, any other questions? Yeah, Courtney, we actually did send I did send some press releases to Bitch and Teen Vogue and Bustle, and Hello Giggles, and all of these places. But maybe what I sent them wasn't explicitly about the political identity of the brand, and maybe that's something we should revisit. And Marissa is like on it, so she's going to start reaching out, I think, which is great. So when I told Courtney earlier tonight that I was thinking about doing this, Courtney said this would be a really great idea, but also she was like, maybe we'll finally get some YouTube comments on our channel. And I said, yeah, we'll probably get some YouTube hate comments on our channel, but I mean, those are still comments. One thing about Trump supporters is they're very, very, very vocal. Very vocal. So I'm going to stay for about a minute more in case you guys have any other questions, but we will be in warrior gear. Yeah, love you, Hayne. You're great. Yes, you guys are fantastic. I know you guys will be great. Yeah, you see, like, I don't know why people think this is a risky thing. I mean, I understand the hatred means that you're scared, but I mean, people really like it when you take a stand not to be a shitty human being. Like, I mean, after looking at all the Paul Ryans and everybody in office, you're like, can anybody just yeah. People really do stand behind people who take a strong stance. And I mean, that's another thing that I could not imagine having Sabbatical Beauty be quiet about these things. Like, I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. I'm not white. I always get, especially when I'm in very, very white areas, I get asked, I get spoken to really slowly, like I don't speak English, which is really annoying because I was an English professor. I was an English professor. I'm from Singapore, a country that was colonized by the British. So yeah, I speak English. I speak English probably better than whoever is making fun of me. So and all these attacks against immigrants, all these attacks. I mean, how can the Sabbatical Beauty stay quiet about this? Because it would be complete hypocrisy too. Because this affects me. It affects my staff, majority of whom are people of color, women of color. So there's no way we're going to be quiet about this. I mean, we're not going to be setting fires to things, but we're going to be very clear about our stance. We're very clear about what we stand for, about, if you don't support us, that's fine. Go in peace. Thank you, Madeline, and thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. I appreciate all your kind comments. You guys will laugh. Like when I first decided to kick out Trump supporters, I had some people posting in a group about how like Sabbatical Beauty was full of hatred. We're full of hatred. We're full of hatred because we don't love Trump supporters. And I was like, bye. Hi, Lucky. Yes, it's Lacan Professor. Yeah, Courtney is my token white lady. Everybody else is a woman of color, which is really kind of awesome. It didn't end up like purposely being that way. It just happened. But, you know, this happened. Yeah. So, yeah, we told her, like, when I realized she was the only person that worked for Sabbatical Beauty and was white, Marissa said that, oh, she's going to be our token white friend that we can use to say that we don't hate white people. Yes! Courtney, you were a diversity hire. That's awesome. So I hope this has been informative. If there's anything you want to chat about, talk about later, just leave a comment and I'll try to get to it. If I don't get to it, I'm sure other people will get to it and tag me if you have anything that you need to talk about or want to ask about. But I just wanted to say how grateful I am for you guys. I'm super, super grateful for you guys because without your support, I wouldn't be able to have the best job I've ever had. And I wouldn't be able to live my dreams believing that, even though there are a lot of shitty people in the world, there are also a lot of really fantastic people in the world who believe in what's good and what's right and in supporting that. And that's you guys. So I really appreciate that. Thanks, guys.